And we're back with topic 8.3, the Red Scare. A couple things I want to mention before we get going. Number one, this and the other videos are meant to supplement your reading and your work with Khan Academy and your other study material. These are not meant to be the only thing you look at. And secondly, I'm going to try to make these videos shorter. I noticed that they're 15 minutes is a little bit long, so I'm going to try to keep them under 10. This one should be pretty easy because it's a short topic, but I realize these are supplements. This is not the whole class time or class period, and so I don't need a lecture that long. So I will try to make these shorter. So, okay, let's go back. Topic 8.3. I lost it because I'm clicking too much. There we go. The Red Scare in the 1940s and 50s. We've heard this before. We've heard this phrase Red Scare before, so we'll talk about that later. Let's look at the objectives real quick. Explain the causes and the effects of the Red Scare after World War II. If you look at the historical developments, we're looking at Americans debated policies and methods designed to expose suspected communists within the U.S., even as both parties, Democrats and Republicans, supported the broader strategy of containing communism. The theme we're looking at is American and national identity. In other words, what does it mean to be an American? What values are we going to hold tightly at various times in history? That is going to be our backdrop for this information. So in your book, there's a section, I believe it's titled The Red Scare, but I could be wrong. Nope, in 25B, Red Scare, The Hunt for Communists. It's right there. You should have read that by now. It's pretty brief, but it covers really everything that we need to know about this topic. So I'll mention a few things in there during this time. You also have Khan Academy, which I have up there. Okay, so a couple questions that should guide us with this development and this objective. Number one, what policies were created to expose communists? If you look at the developments, it says Americans debated policies. So what were those policies? And again, they come from both sides of the political aisle. Democrats and Republicans are both in favor of containing communism and stopping it. They take slightly different approaches, but we're going to look at this as a more general governmental approach to the fear of communism. So, number one, programs and executive actions that stress loyalty. An example, the Loyalty Security Program put out by Harry Truman and after World War II. So this particular program is an example of this broader approach by the government to promote loyalty to the United States. Because if you're loyal to the U.S., then you are not in favor of communism. You're not supporting the Soviet Union. You're not supporting the enemy. So there's a general feeling and thought promoted by leadership. We see that through programs like the Loyalty Security Program. We also see it through the rhetoric or the speech of presidents and Congress people and really just all the government in the post-World War II era. So another key example, really a big one, a term that you should know just in general U.S. history, and that is HUAC, which is a acronym for the House of Un-American Activities Committee. You would not want to be on their radar. The House of Un-American Activities. Make sure your activities are American, not un-American. Their famous, probably most famous deal that they put forth was something called the Hollywood 10. The committee was really in charge of finding communists who'd infiltrated American culture, and they focused a lot on media and movies and TV and radio and that sort of thing. And there's a group of 10 people in Hollywood that they claimed were linked to communism in some way. If you notice on your book here, there is a mention of that right there, the Hollywood 10. They went to jail for their supposed activity and the groups they'd been associated with. So, and then lastly, McCarthyism, again, a term that is very important to just general United States history. If you guys read The Crucible in English class, this term probably would have come up. And it's named after Congressman Joseph McCarthy, who is kind kind of the most vociferous or loud proponent of anti-communism. You see, here's this headline here: McCarthyism, the meteoric career of Senator Joseph McCarthy. Meteoric meaning he came in very quickly and he crashed and burned, and that he did in kind of a sad tale of a fall. And you can read that at the end. I think at the end of this paragraph here, but. Um, he was the key communist hunter of the United States. He was a senator from Wisconsin, and he claimed he had all these communists that he was aware of who had infiltrated the U.S. government, and he people believed him, and he promoted this idea. He went on TV and radio and promoted this, but when he investigated these supposed communists on television, he was very aggressive, and a lot of his findings were unfounded. There's little to no evidence for some of these accusations that he made, and so people actually shied back a little bit. They said, "Ooh, that's a little too much for us," as he was very aggressive. He really bullied people during these hearings, and he again, like I said, he fell quickly out of popularity after that. But again, very popular term in this time. There's other things going on. I don't remember if your book mentions them. Alger Hiss, the Rosenbergs, there's various spy. Let's see. I think Hiss is mentioned in here somewhere. Yep, there he is. Alger Hiss. There's other stories of spies and such that were jailed or in some cases killed because they're supposed communists. Really, this time period for the people who were being hunted, it was largely people who in any way associated with things that were not mainline US free market capitalism. So it didn't have to be an overtly communist group. It could be somebody who maybe just believed in a foreign policy that was similar to the line of thinking that communists had. So what I want to do real quick is look at this next question. How does this Red Scare compare to that which followed World War I? Because like I mentioned at the beginning, this is our second Red Scare. And so I want you guys to think about that for a second. Pause and think about how this Red Scare compares to the one after World War I. That would be in terms of what's alike and what's different, similarities and differences between those two. Take a second to think about that. Okay, so hopefully you guys had time to think about that. I added some things in here as you were thinking. So some similarities. Obviously, both occurred after World Wars. The first Red Scare was following World War I and the Bolshevik or the Russian Revolution, which made people very fearful of communism and the threat it posed. Both focused on communist action coming out of Russia. They weren't focused on other places, Russia, the Soviet Union. And in both cases, we saw laws or actions led by the government that were in opposition to communism. We had the quotas after World War I, the attempt to slow down immigration from the East or from Eastern Europe and Russia. And then after World War II, we talked about some of those things earlier. So in terms of differences, there's some big ones. Number one, after World War I, the fear was that common people, especially lower middle class people, were the ones who were kind of bringing communism in. And in post World War II, the fear was more focused on, although it focused on the public also, it was more focused on people who had infiltrated government or the military or science or something like that. There was this greater fear of people at a high level of society. And then we also have the issue of nuclear weapons after World War II, which was not the case after World War I. So after World War I, the threat was just overthrow of government, which was pretty unlikely. Whereas after World War II, there's a threat of nuclear attack because of communist spies and Soviet spies. So then the other big difference after World War II, mass media has progressed. We've got TV that's spreading ideas much more quickly than after World War I. Obviously, radio's around. The ideas spread more quickly, and they have new mediums to travel by. So that is it. Hopefully, you're able to think about that on your own. Make sure you do your reading. Again, topic 8.3, the Red Scare. There you have it.